and high frequencies, everybody. Blackfoot Witch, the Dream Oracle, is here. I know it's been a minute. As I always say that I just don't come in just to come in into this space, but I come into this space when it's something that is deeply on my heart and in my spirit that I want to share. And today we're going to talk about something totally separate from Dream Ram, but we're going to talk about warfare in various ways and the constant battle of that. So, as some of you may know, because some of you are here, I'm in Memphis, Tennessee. I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee. I was born here, raised here. I've lived in Houston, Texas for an extended amount of time, and then I came back to Memphis, Tennessee. I travel internationally. I also travel state to state within the United States, and I've seen a bit of life that happens within these 45 years I've been on this planet. As many of you know, and some of you who may not know, that it has been ordered to deploy the National Guard into Memphis, Tennessee, due to high crime rates. Now, crime rates have been the crime rates here. It has been stated that crime has decreased within a certain percentage. I think it's anywhere between 12 to 18%. Crime has decreased here, but they're still looking to deploy the National Guard. This is all also on top of AXI being here with Elon Musk that just came into play here as well. And the National Guard is also supposedly to be deployed into other population dense cities with people of color. And this, to me, is of course by no happenstance. I feel like this is a chess game that is being set up. People are emotionally involved in this, stating, you have some people saying, hey, yeah, we really need the National Guard here. That's due to the fact of a lot of people watching the news, listening to the news, and not actually living in these locations or working in these zip codes that they are stating are high crime rates. Now, I work in 38126, 38106 zip code. I live in a 38128 zip code. If you research these zip codes, if you look them up, they are, especially 38126, 38106, the most poverty-stricken zip code. People in that neighborhood that I actually work for, those stakeholders in that community, make anywhere between $11,000 to $15,000 a year annually. That's their annual income. Household, usually 3+ people, sometimes up to 7 in one household, making $10,000 to $15,000 a year. And possibly if you're someone who lives in maybe the West Coast or up north, you probably couldn't even fathom making that least amount of money and being able to survive. But because of the cost of living here in Memphis, you can make about $35,000, $40,000 in Memphis and pretty much live an okay lifestyle. You wouldn't be balling, but you can live decent, right? It doesn't cost much to live here. That's why a lot of investors, people come to this city. Now, the chess game has always been to keep those people, my people, our people, in that state, in that poverty-stricken state. Upstream, we can always look at things, but we're looking at the poverty, which causes shame, depression, anxiety, which also leads to crime. When you want to decrease crime within a community that you state have high crime rates, one of the things that you do is increase job attainability, and that comes from various areas, not just having jobs, but also looking at second chance programs, expungement programs. These people who have tried to feed their family or trying to get by, trying to get away from the shame, the anguish, the anxiety of not being able to do for themselves, because they've been making $10,000 to $15,000 annually, if that, and living off government assistance. Now, no way, shape, or form am I giving them an out. Am I saying that it's okay to commit a crime because you don't have? That's not what I'm saying. I'm giving you the root of the problem on why crimes have been committed and how to rectify the problem, how this problem can actually be solved. It's not very difficult to solve a high crime rate most of the time. Decreasing that, you're still going to have crime. You're still going to have crazy people. You're still going to have people who are going to want to do what they want to do and they don't care. However, for the vast majority of people doing smash and grabs and stealing clothes and stealing jewelry and stealing food, is due to them not having and trying to sell it to get to have those things in life that they need. I'm sure when you flip the switch in different households, when the parents and the families are making well over $100,000 a year, two-parent household incomes making over $200,000 a year, you are not going to see smash and grabs. They don't have a need to do that. Their needs are being met. Basic needs of survival: food, water, shelter, right? Food, water, shelter. I work in a zip code where the basic necessities of life for these children aren't being met. Basics. Now, going back to deploying the National Guard are used for war zones. They're used for a time of war. They're not police officers. They're not trained police officers. They're trained for war. They're trained in those various aspects, from what I've seen and from what I've heard. Now, I've been out of town in communities where I've seen the National Guard. After Hurricane Katrina, immediately after Hurricane Katrina, probably like a month or two after, I went to Metairie, Louisiana. If you are familiar, it's right outside of New Orleans at that time. My boyfriend at the time was going to Xavier. He lived in Metairie. Me and a friend of mine went down there to travel to visit. We took pictures, and the National Guard was actually patrolling, and it felt like a war zone. It felt enclosed. It felt like we were prisoners in our own home. Fast forward a couple of years ago, I'm traveling to Montego Bay. National Guard was present that they had, and of course they're in the big Hummer trucks or whatever you call those trucks. They have the guns out. They have the guns out there walking the street with these big automatic weapons, driving up and down the street. You don't feel safe. You don't feel free. You feel like a prisoner in your own home. That's how I felt. And I was on vacation, and I didn't feel safe with them walking around with the guns, because I'm like, the year before when I was in Montego Bay, it wasn't like this. How did it get to be like this within a year? They do this in population dense communities of color. When communities of color are extremely high, I think it's about 70% black here in Memphis, and we've had an influx of Latino population as well. That's where they're being deployed. And I feel like this is an undermining chess move to something else that is going to happen, that we may not even be aware of at this time. We may not even know. But this is a chess move. They're not here to fight crime. They're not here to decrease crime numbers. Memphis has always had high crime rates because the population is less and the numbers are about the same as everywhere else. It's just our population numbers. It's just the amount of people who live here that makes it look like more than what it is. And then we was on First 48. They show all that. But most of the time, I'm not going to say all, but most, these crimes that occur, things that happen, especially, shooting and things like that, because like I said, I live in 38128, doesn't come to my door because I'm always protected. However, it occurs when people who are involved in their lifestyle, people who are involved in criminal activity, drug selling, gang banging, prostitution, just all the things. So when you're involved in their life, you put yourself at risk for these things to happen to you and for these things to occur. And if you do the basic things like, hey, I'm going to make sure that I get my gas, at Sam's Club or before 9, 10 o'clock at night. Things like that. I'm in my garage, y'all. But just minor precautions. That's all I'm saying. It keeps you out of the loop of the crossfire, should I say, of something happening to you. Because you could be an innocent bystander and those things happen. But more times than not, it's people who are in that lifestyle. So I want you all just to take a minute. I want you to breathe. I want you to send energy. I want you to send the violet flame is what's coming to me. Over Memphis, over the children who are walking back and forth from school every day within their communities. Then now the National Guard is going to be deployed and they're going to be marching and possibly harassing these babies while they're just playing with, and talking shit to their friends, going from middle school home, from high school home. I don't know what the setup is going to look like, but it's weighing heavy on my heart to protect the babies, to protect the children, to protect those little ones who are just walking, kicking it with their friends. They may be 14, 15 years old, just hanging out with their friends, and they're getting picked on and harassed and thrown in jail because of suspicion of. So, for our people here, you all who live in other places and you're hearing about it, or even if you live here but you don't live in it, you don't see this, you may live in the suburbs or the outskirts and you don't live in it, you just hear about it. You're almost like somebody who's out of town and you're saying, yes, we need the National Guard here, but you're not even in it to even know what is needed. You live on the outskirts, you ain't even a part of this. You really have no say-so in this because you just watching the news. You just like somebody watching in San Diego. You ain't no different. Protect the babies, protect the children, protect the households, protect the grandmothers, the aunts, the uncles, the parents, those who are, upholding citizens and are seeking to do right in this world, seeking to do right within their families, to seeking to do right within themselves. Send them energy, send them light, send them protection. All right, now leave you in peace and high frequencies, everybody.